Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the channel. We are doing our match reaction against Hull City today, where QPR defeated, or I should say, mauled the Tigers at the MKM Stadium 3-1 with a superb performance. Not an excellent performance, I should say, not a superb, not an excellent, but a very tactical performance. So yeah. Who we got in the chat? Well, QPR Ryan, good to see you, mate, in the chat. What's good, mate? How are you? I'm all good, mate. I'm smashing. Hopefully you're okay. Hi, DB from Nick. Hopefully, Nick, you're okay. Hopefully you are enjoying your weekend, as well as Ryan. Bit of a strange one stream yesterday. It was very strange. As everyone knows at the start of it, and then obviously finishing it on a positive note. So yeah. Fingers crossed that, you know, whatever was said yesterday on stream, yeah, I apologize. So yeah, Ryan knows what I mean. I just I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on whatsoever. So yeah. But hopefully everyone's okay. Hope you're having a smashing weekend after yesterday's result. I've actually just finished watching Liverpool game. Bit of a crazy game that was. We also got the London Derby, the North London Derby today in about half an hour. So that's why I've come on a bit early to watch that. So yeah. I think we should just get straight into it with obviously the positive stuff. So let's go on to the next page. Yeah, Ryan, I know. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. Like when someone does say that a certain age and then have multiple accounts and then this and then that, it's a bit weird. I don't know. It's very weird. So yeah. But yeah, I can't do much about it. All I can say is I apologize for anyone that was offended or anything like that. So yeah. Nick says, to start off with, I thought Hull were poor, but both teams stepped it up in the second half and we deserved it and better passing chances. Okay, Nick. Well, we'll get into it now. We'll very well get into it now. Because my opinions on the game are going to be very different, obviously with what I was watching and all of that. Now, would I say it was a great game? Not really. I'm not gonna lie. I think going into the game, you know, as everyone saw the match preview, I was very not positive. Let's just say that. I thought QPR against Hull, especially with Hull, what they're doing, they were going to destroy us, to be honest. You know, they looked very strong at times. They did. This is football. It's something that I love in this game, where the most shocking moments can change games, you know, and that's what happened. You know, a lot of the time, I will say this in the chat yesterday, a lot of people were annoyed with obviously Julian and what the hell's going on and stuff like that. And I had a big thought about this yesterday after the game, and I'm gonna share you guys. I don't think we should hate him. I generally don't. I think what happened yesterday was meant to happen. I think that it was his tactic yesterday. I did say bits about it yesterday. No, in the match preview, about what we need to do, and I looked into it and I was watching the game again, and I was like, this might generally be what he actually meant to do. You know, the counter attacking, you know, laying back and going from there. And it worked. It generally worked. I can't sit here and say, you know, don't get me wrong, the performance was shocking. You know, a lot of the time, fans don't want to see us sitting back in defence, doing fuck all. It's that simple. You know, we're away from home against a strong Hull City side. And, you know, I'm not going to sit and say we outperform them whatsoever. Hang on, people. Hang on. Sorry about people. Sorry, someone just disturbed me. Yeah. I'm not gonna hate on it. you know, don't get me wrong, there's times where I sat, well, standing up, and I was like, okay, this game is pretty dead, you know, it's not going well for us. But I feel like when I looked into it yesterday, I think we're a bit harsh, you know, and tactically, we did the job in doing what we needed to do. You know, we got the 3 points, we got the result away, and I get it. Listen, look, people don't want to see us sitting back playing boring football. But sometimes when you're away from home, and especially if it's a team that you think is, well, in my opinion, is stronger than us, you know, it changes. Everything changes. It's one of them things. So yeah. QPR says, I think in the end we were slightly better. As I said yesterday, the game was so open with so much space, and it really helped us. Nick says, we were resolute as a team, and we can only do as good as we can. Do without an options to start the game tactically, like with no chance of changing with injuries. We'll get into that. Definitely, we'll get into that. But what I'll say is this. Yesterday game, I think, was planned out very well. You know, it might have been to people that it was boring, it was dead, it was rubbish. You know, there's games this season that we've had that we've won, and, you know, realistically, it's been a bad game. But in my opinion, this game, you know, when we took the lead with the corner with Harvey Vale on the own goal from McNair, I felt we were looking a bit strong in the 25 minutes. But what I'm looking at on FootMob right now is that the momentum for the first 25 minutes were all Hull City. So it's a bit weird. Like, I generally thought when I was watching that game, Hull City were not doing that much in the first 25 minutes. You know, for what I saw on the screen, we were kind of attacking a bit more and counter-attacking as well. We looked a lot stronger and going from there. But the momentum-wise in the first half was all Hull, you know. Looking at what I'm looking at right now, Hull City apparently dominated. Well, they definitely dominated the game in passing-wise and stuff like that. But they definitely dominated the game in momentum and attacking. So, yeah. But it wasn't until we scored our goal, the own goal, in the first half, you know, which kind of pushed us a bit more. You know, there's times where I looked at the side and, you know, Kone wasn't great at times. You know, Sato wasn't great at times. Collie wasn't doing anything that much. And you know, the only person I could say was looking great at the time was the defence again. The defence looked brilliant. You know, Amadou, Dunn, Ronnie. You know, Davis didn't have the greatest of games. You know, that first goal for Hull that went in on the 39th minute with Joe Geldhart, I would honestly blame 3 to 2 players on that. You know, it's another defensive error. A lot of people probably say Joe Walsh and this and that, but for me, I don't think it's a Joe Walsh scenario. I think at the end of the day, Davis has to be defending a lot better. He has to get stuck in, whether that's staying on his feet or diving into the challenge, blocking the ball. I just think Davis should have been a lot better yesterday. I think he was awful completely, even that we won. You know, the second half was a bit of improvement, but that first half was a bit of a weird one with defensive on that one goal. You know, Ronnie, unfortunately, it did bounce off Ronnie and Joe Walsh, and it was a bit of a weird goal. You know, and sometimes in life, in games, you know, when you're gifted a goal, sometimes you gift them a goal. And that's what happened, you know. They made a mistake, we made a mistake in the first half, and that was that simple. You know, 2 goals went in that were very lucky. You know, and made it 1-1. Obviously, whatever he said in the second half kind of helped a little bit, but I also think it was also to do with Hull were tired. Hull didn't look great in that second half, neither did QPR. You know, it was only down to the fact being that the subs changed the game. When I look into it now, Hull, yeah, expected goals are very high, total shots 14. But if you look at us, we kind of put it to them away, which is very unexpected for us against Hull away. You know, I was very surprised. And I think the main scenario was that everyone was a bit annoyed with the substitutions and how late it took. You know, and tactically, you know, Kone wasn't great on the day, and we'll look into that. We will, for sure. We'll judge him. We'll do this. We'll do that. But realistically, whatever the game plan was, it worked, and they did what Julian probably set out to do. So, on that note, I think it's got to be a positive thing, you know. I don't get me wrong, I was frustrated with some chances of Kone where he missed a lot of chances, you know, that weren't taken properly. There was times where Vale kind of annoyed me sometimes, and everyone knows how I feel about Vale. Vale's one of my favourite players, you know, and I think the subs changed the game. It's that simple, you know. You could tell by the momentum on how it went. So it was all QPR, whole QPR, whole QPR, whole QPR, whole QPR, whole QPR, and whole QPR. So it was very end to end in that second half. Very crazy game. But was it entertaining enough? No, not until we scored our second goal. That was it. You know, we made, you know, Julian waited for them to make their subs, which I was saying yesterday. It looks like they're making subs before us, and it looks like Julian is probably going to make subs after what they're, you know, tactically on that note. You know, if I go to, you know, our substitutions, you know, we brought on, let me just double check here what happened again. So, yeah, obviously, homemade substitutions, they did. And then, obviously, we did, with Daniel Bennie coming on for Collie, Varane coming on for Hayden. It was great to see Varane. Honestly, it's great to see Varane back. It actually looked like McGoldridge was jumping on the pitch. So, yeah. And those two subs kind of changed the game. You know, Hull were very tired at times. And I feel like those substitutions kind of refreshed us, where the ball was gifted to Daniel Bennie, and what a lovely strike it was. You know, a lot of people are gonna obviously have said in the chat yesterday about Daniel Bennie this, you know, he's young and he's loan time. I agree with you, he does need loan time, but when you got injuries, you need to keep some of these players, and it's that simple. With everything that's going on at QPR of injuries at the moment, we need players. You know, we need depth. And Daniel Bennie is there to supply it. Once players come back, I'm sure Daniel Bennie will probably go back out and will go out and loan to National League side or whatever it is. But the goal he scored yesterday is what we see on a development side and an international base when he plays. You know, if you lot don't watch him development side or internationally, I advise you to, because I've said this constantly. He's a very talented youngster. You know, he might not be ready for the championship first team football, but he's a very talented youngster. I've said this all season. You know, a lot of people have hated on him, but, you know, and I get it. I totally understand, but I'm not surprised. I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised with him scoring that type of goal, you know. It was a cracking, confident strike from him, and it beat the keeper, and it did very well. And it's probably going to be another goal of the month for him. Well, for us. You know, Harvey Vale just come off of a goal of the month for February, and now we probably get another goal of the month for March, maybe. You never know. So, yeah. But that changed the game. The substitutions changed the game completely. You know, we brought on Daniel Bennie. We did, which was a phenomenal strike. And then even from then, even before actually, or even from then, we dominated it. You know, we kept putting pressure on the defence, and they kept giving it away. You know, they kept giving it away, and Kone looked more intrigued to push on forward and attack. And maybe that was the game plan. You know, we saw Daniel Bennie score. We saw Clark Salt come on for Amadou and Bengay, and that kind of helped a little bit. And we saw some chances, but they were saved. And then obviously our counter attack, where Richard Kone scored another goal, was actually very placed well into the bottom corner, and I'm surprised that no one tackled him, to be honest. I'm very surprised no one tackled him, but he done a phenomenal job in counter-attacking, winning the ball back, getting into the box with the ball and placing it into the bottom corner, you know. And if that was the game plan, which looks like it was, it's a cracking thing what he's done, Julian, you know. And it shows you what we can do of important subs, you know. You know, a lot of people were hating him yesterday, even me. Why wasn't he making the subs early? And then when I was looking at it, I was thinking, okay, maybe he's waiting for Hull to make their subs so he can see what we could do. And that's what happened. He brought on the correct subs, the right subs, and he made the right decision. And I applaud him for it, you know? We got the game result done. You know, he done a phenomenal job. We won 3-1. Kone scored. Bennie scored. Cracking goals. And we left the MK with 3 points. And we was 10th or 11th, I believe it was, until obviously yesterday when certain games happened. We back to 13th, you know. This season's very close. It's very close this season. You know, 47 points. 48, 49, and 51 obviously is the 6. You know, we won't get into the playoffs yet. Well, that's if we do get into playoffs, but at the moment I would say it's very close from relegation all the way to top spot. I think personally Coventry and Middlesbrough are the only teams I can see probably get automatic promotion, but from third all the way downwards, it's an open game, man, honestly. And this is why I love the Championship. It's very open this season. Every team is, you know, up and down, up and down. But from yesterday's performance, I applaud it. That second half was a lot better. The subs were very tactically done, very neat and tidy. We go on from there. We have an important game, obviously, on Tuesday night against Southampton away, which is going to be very, very, very difficult for us. And we go from there, obviously. You know, am I expecting a big result or a good result? I think where we are right now, and depending on, obviously, what happens on Tuesday night, I would say I would only want to leave the Southampton game with a draw. I'll be happy with a draw. That would technically be a win for us. If we win, happy, even more happy. But a draw is more realistic than what I want to see, than a loss. So yeah, I don't see us lose, because you'd probably get a lot of hate. Julian will. We will be live anyway on Tuesday night. We will, to watch that game. But I'll be happy with a draw, a point away from Southampton. I will be. So yeah. Right, Ilya Sher obviously wasn't on the bench whatsoever, and hopefully he can make Tuesday night. Obviously Varane's come back. Would like to see him play against Southampton. I'm not gonna lie, he looked very good on the ball when he came on yesterday. And hopefully his new haircut can do the trick for us. So yeah. But incredible performance from the defense. You know, Steve Cook obviously with Jake Clark sort of back as well. Our defense is loaded back again, and it's all down to getting our attack back, you know. And if the rumors are true about obviously a certain striker, then we definitely need Burrell back very quickly. So yeah, and fingers crossed it happens. You know, I don't want him to rush, but you know, Kone up front, we can't play him every game. We can't play him every game. You know, I want to rest him on Tuesday night. I'd obviously just Collie up front on his own, but we'll see what happens on that. Well, apart from that, the lineup, let's look at the rating. So Walsh got a lovely 8.5, and Bengay 6.8, Dunn 7.1, Ronnie Edwards 6.2, Davis a 6.9. I generally don't know how Davis got higher than Ronnie and Bengay, makes no sense. Say 7.3, Madsen as always 7.6, Hayden 7.1, Vale 7.5, Collie with a 6.4, and Kone man of the match with 8.8. I gave the man of the match to Harvey Vale. I thought he was terrific on the day. But it looks like Kone was given man of the match from FOTMob. Jonathan Varane got a 6.4 coming on. Daniel Bennie with a 7.7 coming on. And we both saw, well, we did see Clark Salt and Kieran Morgan both coming on as well. So, yeah, very, 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 very happy with the result yesterday. Very happy with the tactical decisions from Julian. I was. And we go from there, really. So, yeah. Let's have a look at the comments, because obviously we were chatting a bit there. Where did we end up? With Nick, like I said beforehand, on the attack we needed to be close to each other, and we did that second half with more opportunities. QPR Ryan says, was a nice balance between attack and defend with us yesterday. Need to do more of that in our away games. ITZYEBOIDB, how are you? I'm good, thank you, RW. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good weekend. Good to see you in the chat as well. Yeah, I was one of them who was not happy with how long Julian took to make the subs, but it worked out and pretty well, to be fucked to him. Yep. Mate, I'll be honest, I had a feeling when we saw the whole subs coming on, he was waiting for that, I believe. So yeah, Nick says, I think we still were bad with decisions on passing right when we were attacking, which is strange. They work on it in training. You know what? I agree. You know, with Julian, I expect passing to be a lot better from where he comes from. The passing's not been great since the start of the season. It's been very shocking, and all we can do is work on it. You know, long balls to me are a very dangerous thing, but sometimes it's good to have them when you need to get up the pitch. So yeah. Nick says, I always said realistically we have to look next season, but there's a strong chance on having all injured players back for that last 10 games to make us possibly favourites for playoffs. Well, right now, I would say yes, we need our players back, but I wouldn't look too much into it with the playoffs this season because, you know, it is close, it's very close, but let's be realistic here. You know, we've just got in with a new manager, head coach, he's brought in some players. You know, do I see any important players coming in next season? I'm not too sure. Do we need, will we see players go? I think so, for sure. I think players will disappear and be sold that are not Julian's books. Just like what Marty did with certain players when he came in, you know, and it goes from there. Right now, we need to keep Poku out, I would say, for the rest of the season, for rehabilitation, ready for next season. Chair is obviously coming back. Obviously, Burrell will be back. You know, we ain't got much games to go. We're already coming up for March, and we have what, April and May. You know, so 3 months, not even that, 2.5 months left of the season. 2.5 months, and you know, it's just gone so quick. It has, and I'm happy with this season. I really am. I can't fault it. You know, yes, there could have been better times, but realistically, we're not a playoff team yet. We're more of a top 10. And eventually we will. If we do get playoffs, then happy days. But I think strong candidates are Ipswich and Wrexham at the moment. So, yeah. Ryan says, do you think Kone is lucky to get that high of a rating considering everything he missed? I think the ratings will consist of goals, really. You know, he scored a goal and in the last 15 minutes he did okay. You know, I'm a big fan of Kone, and I know a lot of people ain't fans of Kone. You know, a lot of people think he's garbage, but personally, I watched him in League One. I thought he was terrific. You know, when someone can score goals in the Championship, which he has shown, you know, I wouldn't never say someone's shit or garbage. I would say his form at the moment is not the best with what we thought, but he is scoring goals, and that's the main thing. Not scoring as many as Burrell did, but he's doing well. I think next season, I think we'll see a lot better of Kone. So yeah, I think Kone, you know, whatever's going on in his head, you know, I would say this: if he does get negativity through social media, I would say just avoid it, ignore it completely. Because listen, Kone, you have a lot of fan base at QPR. I'm a particularly big fan of you. I think majority of the chat is, and yeah, I honestly know what you can do on the pitch, and just hope for all the best, really. So yeah. Nick says, again, a draw would be brilliant if win at home, but United comes good. Ryan says, I'd like to see Pearman get some minutes up top, really rate him. I like Pearman as well. I think he's a good youngster like Bennie, but he's not ready. He's not ready. He looked good in pre-season, but he needs a low move like Daniel Bennie and other players like that. So yeah. Robert pulled out some blinders yesterday, didn't he? Robert? Robert? Who's Robert? Do you mean Ronnie? Yeah, Robert. Who's it? Robert? Am I losing the plot? Robert. Who the hell's Robert? Robert pulled out. Oh, I know who you're on about. Sorry. Yeah, I know who you're on about. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, Ryan. I was getting confused. I was getting so confused. Who's Robert? Yeah, yeah. He's funny, man. Honestly, he's generally funny. You know, I think he's funny as hell, man. But like I said, he comes from a different era. Robert does. Robert comes from a different era. He comes from old football, and old football in our team, the only people that show it is Paul Smith and some other players. So yeah. Nick says, in fairness, on the pass and the pitch looked bad as ours. Listen, look, Hull City's pitch is bad because of the fucking rugby team. It's that simple. Our pitch is bad because whether it's sunlight or whatever it is, you know, and that goes, do you know what? That goes on to one of the questions that were really annoying, was really weird, was that one of the Q&A questions that Nuri got was, wouldn't it be easier or better just to have the stadium, the goals in the opposite way, in the sense of on the Stanley side and the Amits? And I'm like, how would that work? We don't even own the stadium. We can't do anything to the stadium. We don't own the stadium, you know? I just think the questions was a bit stupid, but yeah. That's only my opinion. So yeah, it's not a fact. So I'm not hating. So let's go from there. But yeah, we finished in the table 13th yesterday. Hull was still in the playoffs. 33 games played, 13 wins, 8 draws, 12 losses. -1 goal difference, 47 points. Form-wise, 2 wins out of 5. 1 draw out of 5 and 2 losses out of 5. Southampton next on Tuesday night. Big game at St Mary's. We will be live. And yeah, we will see what happens there. We will. Any last questions before we leave? Before we end the stream, before Tottenham v Arsenal? I'm guessing everyone's going to be watching that. Unless you really hate Tottenham or Arsenal. So yeah. But yeah, I just also want to say thank you for tuning in yesterday. That stream just hit 2k views, I think. Incredible, absolutely smashed it, and it's just been phenomenal. You guys are killing it. The streams, honestly, it's been impressive, you know, and huge shout out to you guys. You know, much love, much appreciated, and you know, you're helping the channel grow a lot. So yeah, big shout outs to you guys in the chat and anyone that views this and watches it, enjoys it, the content. So yeah. Last couple of questions here. I can't wait for Southampton, but I bet Ronnie wants it more. Listen, Ronnie is going to get a lot of grief, you know, and what I will say is this, to anyone that's going to Southampton, fucking obliterate the stadium, honestly, with your voice, because Ronnie is going to need that support on Tuesday night. Ronnie will need that support, you know. Huge shout outs to him for coming back to the club. Much appreciation, you know. Great interview from Hoopsar with Ronnie, you know. Shout outs to that, and yeah, we go from there. Has your razor broke? Robert says. Oh god, Robert's coming up with the questions. My razor's not broke. I just like long. I get, if that's what you're talking about, my fucking facial hair or whatever, or my hair, I don't know. Right. Spurs or Arsenal, who do you fancy? I want Spurs to win. I personally want Spurs to win, only because I want Arsenal fan TV to shut the fuck up. It's that simple. I think they moan too much, and I think they're the reason why, you know, a lot of grief goes on these players. So yeah, and I really do like the manager, or what they, you know, the head coach, the interim head coach at Tottenham. Is all right. He's not bad. He's good. So yeah. Cheers, DB. Nick says RWG. Robert, obviously Razor. Robert, you're a joker, mate. Honestly, listen, look, shout out to Robert. Give him a W. You know, since he's been tuning in, he's been fantastic to banter with. Honestly, you know, you are a lovely part of this stream, as well as Foley, as Ryan, Nick, RWG, some others as well. I can't remember every name, so I do apologize. But shout out to all you guys, man. You kill it every week, man. And you know, the positivity and the motivation comes from you guys. So yeah, much love for you guys, man. I love Spurs to win. Robert says, yeah, bunch of melts and lot. As a common Spurs, right? Well, listen, look, the teams are in. I'm just looking at it now. And we'll leave it there for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Another live stream tomorrow, guys. Come on. Another live stream. We'll be with our match reaction for Southampton for Tuesday night. So we'll catch you tomorrow. Hope you have enjoyed the weekend. Hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe if you want to. If you're enjoying the content, it helps, obviously, pushing the channel out. But apart from that, have a lovely evening. Peace, love, positivity. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers, boys.